Well, so long Ottawa. It was alright, I guess. The best part of it was seeing my old buddy Aaron again, just catching up and chatting and oh, but I can't really say I miss Ottawa as a city. It's a whole lot of people who are so stuck in their own business that they don't have time for you. Yep, people on the sidewalk in Ottawa, they just seem to have blinders on. I don't know if it's because everyone there's politicians and bankers and bigwig businessmen, but there's plenty of them in other cities too, so it ain't really unique to them. But anyways, enough complaining about our nation's capital. They do have a real nice road that leads out of it. I can say that much for it. And then there's lots of stuff that I probably don't know about that I could have checked out that I just don't have the time for. Not like I'm in any hurry to get anywhere, but if I get too bogged down in any one place, I'm not going to be out east until the fall. In Ottawa, I don't know if it's the stop and go traffic that did it, but I noticed my truck was leaking oil and smoking a little bit under the hood, so that freaked me out, had me almost thinking it might be an early end to the trip, but I stopped at a Canadian Tire, bought some Lucas Oil leak stop, and ran that through the engine, and it seems to have stopped the leak. Along with just getting out of the city and onto some roads that I can drive down for longer than 2 minutes without a stop sign. It's good to get back out into the country. Whenever I'm in a city, just the smell in the air of oil and gas and rubber and people, sometimes it'll make me think something wrong with my engine until I remember, no, it's just the way the air smells when you have enough people crowded all together. So yeah, getting out into the countryside east of Ottawa in that triangle between the St. Lawrence and the Ottawa rivers. I'd never really explored much around there, so I took my time and kind of went out of my way doing a lot of zigzagging down around country roads and seeing what I could find. I got a message from old friend Mel who gave me some suggestions, as she lives in that area. So there's lots to check out. Without having a plan, I just leave myself open to whatever I find. And what I find in the middle of this video is just popped up on my map while I was casting around a place called Alfred Bog, which was fun to hike around for a little bit. I honestly got a little bit worried going down some of these back roads. It was so rough that the truck was just shaking, rattling, roaring, but oh, I like those bumps a lot more than the potholes in the city. Just gotta take her a little slow, but not too slow, and you kind of ride the waves of the bumps of the road. There's a different sort of art to it driving down gravel and dirt roads than there is pavement. You gotta get right in tune with the wave that the grader left. And passing through small towns I like more than passing through the city. there's not as much to see, so you focus on what you see a little bit more. There's a lot of nice architecture in these old towns. The old brick buildings downtown, so many of them look the same all across Ontario because they were built all around the same time. But as I go east, I notice things look older, which makes sense. It was settled longer ago. And then the wide, flat stretches of farm fields, it just feels like home. After the big city, I need a touch of that. I don't mind the city that much, but only for a little vacation here and there. Get in and enjoy it and get out. Now I'm just rambling to fill up time, I guess. I just keep going over the same old ideas. But, I don't know. I got time to kill on this trip, and I still gotta get more comfortable talking to the camera, and more than that, realizing there's an audience at the other side of the camera that I don't think about enough while I'm talking, because really, it's a little bit intimidating. I don't know who all are watching, but I appreciate everyone who is. I hope you like following me on my trip here. Random little spots in the middle of nowhere. I like getting out to these little spots, but yeah, these country roads they're tough on the truck. I'm glad I changed out all the suspension before I left the way I did. That way I can get down these roads a little bit better. I'm pretty sure that road here would have broke my truck in the state it was in a few months ago. I was driving along, and on my map I saw a sign for a place called the Alfred Bog. So I thought I'd stop here, take a walk around, and check it out. Right down some farm back roads. It's a little mushroom. I love those little fungi of all kinds. Seems pretty dry to be called a bog, but I guess I'm more from the swamps. Rushing water. Unless that's just breeze and trees. Memory of Leo de Roche. Oh, I so want to just walk straight out into that. But usually when they put a boardwalk somewhere, it's so you don't disturb nature too much. I never much liked that way of looking at things. Like on field trips, I remember tossing rocks into the lake kind of thing to watch the splash, and teachers or conservation people, they telling you, no, you gotta leave things the way they are. Let nature do its own thing. But I remember thinking, pretty young age even, like, I am a force of nature. I am not separate from nature. It's kind of a Western conceit to say you're different from other forces in nature. I guess. Still, I understand, leave things alone. Because if everyone went around thinking like me, it wouldn't be that good for things. That was my childish view, I guess, so I can say I've grown up from that since I didn't walk straight out into there. That's a short little path. Okay. Kinda expecting more. Still pretty nice to get down some back roads and stretch my legs a bit. My only goal is to get to Montreal by the weekend and then play a good show there over the weekend if I find a good spot. Yeah, that didn't take long, but it was nice. Yep, it was good to get out and stretch the legs, but back on the road. It was a lot shorter of a trail than I expected, but it wasn't too buggy at least, so there's that. And there's a few other things Mel told me I could check out. She didn't even mention the bog, that's just something I found on the map out of nowhere. But I guess there's a old pioneer settlement sort of thing, like a pioneer village in Glengarry. Yeah, Scottish pioneer settlement thing in Glengarry to check out. That I wish I could have got some video while I was there, but I was a little too in the moment to think about grabbing a camera. But yeah, there was old farm equipment, an old blacksmith shop, an old trapper's cabin that I was pleasantly surprised to see that the gear has remained much the same over the years. My dad was a trapper, so growing up I'd go with him to check his trap line, and I'd hang out up at his shop a bit when he was skinning and stretching the furs and getting them ready to send to harvest. And it's a strange process. It's part of our heritage as Canadians, but it is a little disturbing when you're young to have a whole bunch of dead animal carcasses around all the time. But, oh, it was fun. We used to go hunting at night for raccoons with our hound dogs, and that's just a hoot. You'd take them out to a farmer's field somewhere and just let the dogs go, and you wait. You wait for a bit and you'd hear them howl. And they had two very distinct songs. Like one when they're catching onto a scent and following it, and then when they got something up a tree, you knew it. Their tone changed right away. So that was always pretty fun. I mostly just held the flashlight, held the dogs, rode in the back of a pickup truck trying to keep the dog from going crazy, and fun stuff like that. Good way to grow up, getting out in the woods and doing things, learning things that people have done for hundreds of years. There's something to it. There's another thing out this way that Mel suggested I check out in Alexandria, the old ruins of a big Catholic church. So I drove past it, but I was kind of getting hungry, so I didn't stick around. But, oh, I wish I took the time to check it out. It looked pretty cool. But then I saw a school bus there too as I passed it too, so I didn't really want to be odd man out with a school crowd going around for a field trip or something. But anyways, yeah, poking around old ruins is kind of fun. Growing up in Trenton, Ontario, there was one down on the river, the old munitions factory that right around the end of the First World War blew up in a spectacular way, apparently. There's just old ruins that sit out into the river. I like checking out places like that, wherever I can find them. And old junkyards, too. There's always something to be found. Yeah, but much of this day was just spent zigzagging around back farm roads and not really paying attention to what direction I'm going, just trying to keep steadily eastward, even though I didn't manage that very well at some points. I did a little bit of hooking around and backtracking, and I made the best of it, though. I needed to spend a little bit of time in the country before heading back into another big city, Montreal, which I've only ever been to Montreal a handful of times, mostly for a New Year's party or something. Just drive 3-4 hours to get there, spend 3-4 hours at a nightclub, and then drive home. It's not the way to really experience a place, though. I'd almost say it's easier to properly experience a city if you're on foot. Like, having the vehicle leads to needing to find parking, worrying about whether you've paid for long enough, having to go back and feed the meter, or having to move if there's a time limit on where you're parking. But out in the country, you can just find a hiking trail and shack right up in the parking lot of it for the night, and nobody really says a thing. Yeah, I wish I got some video inside the Pioneer Museum place. It was all just free to walk around. Someone gives you a map and you're left to your own devices. Though maybe they just left me to my own devices because it seemed like I knew what I was doing. And they were cleaning up after a school trip came through the day before, so I didn't want to take anyone away from their work. But back on the road again. Can't spend too much time in any one place if I want to make some miles. So back to it. This video here ends with me stopping at a giant tiger in a little place called Alexandria, and I didn't get any footage after that, but I end up just driving out to a little hiking trail off some country roads and end up parking there for the night. Nobody bugged me. Was able to cook up some bacon and watch with a certain kind of satisfaction as the bugs just bounced off of the net screens in the window. Having that all sealed up tight and keeping the bugs out took a little bit of work, but every bit of it was worth it. My mom gave me a good idea to put Velcro around the edges of it to make it easy to peel back and seal back in place. Before, I had the screens built onto these big unwieldy wooden frames that they either had to be in place or stowed underneath the seat, and I do enough back and forth of having to shuffle things around to get at my possessions in here that taking that out of the equation helped a lot. Yeah, so this video pretty much sums up Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. I left Ottawa and just drove around back roads all day until setting for a spot to camp. And yeah, what better to do on a Wednesday anyways? Middle of the week, I thought about playing a little show in Alexandria for the people, but it's such a small town and there weren't a lot of people around, and it just wasn't the right time. A Wednesday afternoon in a small town, just like, probably still would have seen more people enjoying it than I did in Ottawa on the Tuesday. But small towns are better for that kind of thing. I took all my change in that I've been accumulating, took it to the bank in Alexandria to cash in, and I had over $200 just in rolled change. I told the gal behind the counter, that's my winnings from playing music on the sidewalk all different places, and she thought that was pretty cool. So I put that in to keep my bills paid. I was hoping I'd keep making Kingston level amounts of money busking, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So the traveling's gonna cut into the savings a bit, but still better than renting a place right now, that's for sure. So this is where it ends for the day. Just grabbing some groceries and ice and out to the campsite. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.